Well, welcome to what feels like about the 18th episode of ETMOOC 2. Actually, it's only the fourth formal session with the two chats that we had in between on ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. We will get this going by saying straight up, we're circling back to the beginning of this, but now with 3 formal weeks of study, to 3 formal sessions together, plus the conversations, plus all that wonderful reading and writing all of you have been doing on this. And it makes us ask ourselves, so what are we doing with artificial intelligence? And what can we be doing that makes our lives a little bit better? We're going to focus, at least in the first part of this, when I'm doing the talking and getting you all engaged in this, focus on a book that came out about 5 years ago, which is when I first got intrigued by artificial intelligence and the possibilities here. The book is called Human Plus Machine, Reimagining Work in the Age of AI. And what it really gets down to is that sweet spot that we've talked about so much during ETMOOC 2. What can machines do better than we do? And what can we do better than machines do? The book was written by a couple of people here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which made it very sweet when I was first reading it, think, oh, they're like my neighbors. I could actually probably call them up or talk to them a little bit and see what's going on. I got intrigued though as I was reading it, more past the idea of trying to contact them, but do some follow-up based on what I was seeing there, because they were talking about what some local people here were doing in the Bay Area, as well as in other parts of the country, using artificial intelligence, using robotics and other things at that point. There was a fabulous story in there about halfway in about a retailer that was playing with robots. They were designed to greet people at the front door of this wonderful, very popular retail business. The robots were programmed to be able to serve as the initial entryway for customers coming into the store. People could say to them, I'm looking for this, and the robot would lead them there. And when it got a little more complex than the artificial intelligence within the robot was programmed to deal with, it was actually programmed to say, let me take you to somebody that can help you. Instead of let me take you to my leader, it's let me take you to a human who might be able to help you there. I found that so intriguing that I thought, I'm going to go over to the place and check it out. I went over, started walking around, but there was no robot there. Looked around, hoping to see the robot, still no robot. The book had just literally come out, so the people had written it within the last year. After walking around and unsuccessfully looking in, trying to get my close encounter with alien intelligence in a retail store, I finally went up to a few of the clerks and said, so where's the robot? And they hadn't the foggiest idea what I was talking about. I said, well, I just read about this book. You guys are supposed to be big on this. And nobody knew. I said, well, is there a manager around I can talk to? So they referred me to a manager who referred me to another manager. And finally somebody said, oh yeah, we played with that a little while, but we don't have it anymore. I said, that short a period, you tried having that kind of thing here to take some of the burden off your human staff and relieve it with a robot? What happened? And they said, well, the people who designed that aren't with us anymore. I just started laughing. It's like, you look at this stuff and you get excited about something that looks so cutting edge. It's so inviting and so intriguing that you want to look at it. And in a blink, it's gone. And I don't want to make a prediction that ChatGPT is going to be the next version of that robot. But let us understand that we're all, at the moment that we're having this course together, totally hyped up because it really hit the public last November, December. Here we are, end of May, early June, about 6 months later. And there is a second version out. Alec has talked about how that's an upgrade from what we've seen, and we played a little bit with that. But we really, at this moment, don't know where it's going. And so the fun and intriguing thing is to say, what is the potential? If it lasts and if it continues to evolve, what can it do that we can't? And what can we do to start incorporating that in rather than just looking at our morning papers or the morning blogs we read or whatever newscast we're listening to and hear the frightening fear story of the day of, oh, this went wrong with it, or this went right, and it's taking over the world. Oh, no, it's not. Wait a minute. No, I think it's under the partially. I mean, this stuff just evolves so much that we're going to have to be evolving with it. And I think that's the excitement of doing anything through ETMOOC with technology, looking at technology and asking ourselves, what can we do to incorporate this in an effective way? So let me, with that just little bit of brief thing and talking about, highly recommending that book, by the way, even if some of the technology was gone before we got into it, let us take the heart of that and ask ourselves, what could artificial intelligence, and specifically, what could ChatGPT be doing to make our lives better and to better serve the learners that we serve? Anyone, unmute yourself, put stuff in the chat, send me a ChatGPT message and I'll see if my phone picks it up. But anybody, what do you see coming down the road that would make it better? Okay, nobody had an idea. Second question, what do you see now? anyone, what do you think could come out of this based on the conversation we've had here together? You know, I'm going to wait you out. You just know.
I'll start.
Thank you, Daniel.
First place, thank you guys. Back in February when we got together and we started talking about what is Chat GPT, I didn't know anything about it. And so you guys have taken the lead, you put this together, and I know a lot more, but I certainly don't consider myself an expert. But I'm an expert enough to know that there's a lot of different places I could go to keep learning. And I think that's probably the first big step. This is there. Many people are exploring ways to use it, and we'll keep trying to use it. Just to put it in context, an hour ago, I started watching a TV special on ABC about the 1619 Project of slavery in America. And that's actually 2 hours long. So I left there after 1 hour and I'm over here. But for those who are curious about the history of slavery in America and the future of democracy, Chat GPT has already been shown by some of the different things some of you are sharing. Is it allows us to ask questions and set up a study process where we can all dig deeper and learn more. And maybe because of the ways of artificial intelligence, we could dig a bit deeper than we would have otherwise. And maybe we will find better ways to share what we're learning so that more people will learn. And maybe there's a different future than what we might see in front of us right now.
Daniel, you've been working in mentoring for quite a long period of time now. Are you beginning to see things where ChatGPT could augment the mentoring process? And if so, what's one possibility there?
Well, no,
Okay.
I don't think any artificial intelligence will ever replace the human contact. Now, with that said, the human contact of a mentor can help a young person or any person go deeper into the possibilities of what their life might be and explore opportunities they may not have had otherwise. But just like it's a tool for educators in the classroom, it's a tool for volunteers and tutors and parents working with young people in the non-school hours.
Let's make it absolutely clear. My question was not meant to say, how are we going to replace live mentors with artificial intelligence? I'm not suggesting that at all. In the spirit of the book, Machine and Human, the whole thing here is find out what it would do to augment. I love the word augmentation when we talk about artificial intelligence and especially with ChatGPT. So you're sort of given a little bit of the answer I was fishing for. Let me toss this to other people based on what Daniel's saying, where he's hard right in the middle of the road saying this ain't going to replace humans doing mentoring. What possibilities are there where something like ChatGPT or an artificial intelligence might augment what we do and make the job we do easier and better for the learners? Any takers on that?
Can I take it somewhere else? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Alec.
No,
I was
fine.
just going to say what Sal Khan has put into the Khan Academy with Khanmigo has basically given every student a tutor in a very friendly way, not a mentor, different for sure, but still generally the privileged students got tutors, and now we've democratized that to embed that in something like Khan Academy and give tutors to every student who has access to Khanmigo.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lisa. Alec, what were you going to add in there?
That's a great point by Lisa. I think the Conmigo tutoring, like the intelligent tutor piece, is going to be very important going forward. Like, and going back to Daniel's comment, it's not going to replace the human touch or the care that comes from AI, and I would tend to agree with that. But I think larger picture, I guess, would be, for me, 2 points would be wayfinding and sense making, and probably sense making before that. And I've some from very explicit examples. I heard a while back that there was and I saw the syllabus. There's a syllabus, from Queen's University, English 100, and it's like 44 pages long or 42 pages long. And I was trying to decipher it, as a PhD, and I'm thinking undergraduates are deciphering this, and it's very dense. It's not very well put together, and just trying to figure out, like, how do I complete this course? How do I, how do I get through it? How do I do assignment number 1? It's really difficult to follow. And I'm not going to take down the professor for this. I think we often do that, and our syllabi get bloated and so on. But a student just said, I'm going to put it into askyourpdf.com, and I'm going to ask it questions like, how do I complete the first assignment? And I played around with this, and it was quite amazing. So, like, sense making in that sense, like everyday task, or making education, or what are the crypto markets going to do, or should I invest in this, or how do I how do I become a better human? Like, those sort of, like, the any level education piece, I think, is really important. So making sense of the world, or what's happening in the Middle East right now, or what's happening, another part of the world. And the wayfinding is, I think, that guidance that it can provide, like within that sense making, there's also, like, what happens if I explore this path, and how far can I go down this path in terms of careers, in terms of, relationships, or whatever else. And that wayfinding, I think, is really important. To me, those two umbrellas hit a lot of what AI will do and will help us. And I think those are just two natural, human pursuits that have been around for such a long time. But, augmenting this, I think, with an intelligent tutor, a non-judging, non-judgmental, hopefully, well, biased, but biased in a different way than your average friend or loved one. I think those are really important attributes of AI, and where it will take us, I think, in the future.
And since it's our last session, let us pull as much of it together as we can. We talked in the first couple of weeks about that awful thing that's coming up more and more these days, where ChatGPT itself hallucinates. It actually makes up stuff that isn't there. So the bad side of it is, we need to be aware that really we're looking at augmentation that needs some kind of a check. So if we're using it for mentoring, if we're using it for tutoring, we want to make sure the information that it's giving us, and we want our learners to understand the information they're getting from ChatGPT, they want to go and check that and continue to do their own research to grow off it. It's a great starting point. None of us that have used it at all over the last few months would use it as the starting and the end point of anything, ranging from news reporting to writing a term paper, because the stuff isn't at that level yet. But that said, it leads us down fantastic paths. And I think Alex has done a great job of pointing those out. Let me hit a couple of things that are in chat here from Tim. Transparency, holding on to some, this is again on the question of what might it do, how might it augment us, and how might we augment it. Transparency, holding on to some semblance of open sourcedness, like Bruce Sterling's SPIMES, tracking where it all comes from in space and time, which got a thumbs up from somebody else. So obviously that one's striking home. Seeing here from Matthew, augmented human curiosity, not necessarily ChatGPT, but artificial intelligence could nudge us to do the right things in the right order at the right time. Again, we remain in control of that, but it is our buddy in this to a certain extent, without anthropomorphizing it too much, that it is a useful thing. It leads us. Nadia says some mentoring can be transactional in nature, and AI could help with that in accordance with the human contact and support. So if we're running with a theme here in ETMOOC, kind of the wisdom of the crowd thing, we're recognizing this is fascinating, but it also is not something where we just hand everything over and say, you're intelligent, I'm not, give it up. There's the responsibility and the thrill of exploration that goes with it. Lisa says, I just heard from a company tonight that has general AI career counseling, which is, again, another nice sign of how you can get that when you're ready for it, if you're the learner in your moment of need. Matthew comes back to, for the first time in history, we get value out of garbage in and value out, which is kind of an interesting thing. Haven't seen the garbage in yet, Matthew. Actually, that's a fascinating question. Could you go a little further with that, unmute yourself and
Yeah,
talk
I
about
can do
what
that.
garbage is
I can do
garbage?
that.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm counting
um,
on you.
I actually went to the AI lab, Elliot Macy's AI lab last week or 2 weeks ago in New York. It was in Saratoga Springs. I'm not gonna say New York City. I'm sorry. But in any case, one of the things that came out is that it was really about corporate learning and that kind of stuff, but there were a lot of people were excited about the fact that AI could, get inside an enterprise and have like a closed-in AI that would look at all the resources of a company and then would be able to make sense of it. Like would be able to make sense of all the stuff that's all in all the databases, all the stuff that's in Office 365, whatever, and then try to see the patterns and make connections, make human connections between people who are working on similar stuff in different silos or different, branches or whatever, and basically get value out of that. And I think that, that's where, that task of trying to detect these patterns, which is something that's way too daunting for any human, is something that the AI can do very easily. So, trying to basically just do some kind of meta tags of everything and trying to figure out what's this about? Is that a part of, this project or that other project? So I think that there's probably something about this in terms of even in school, like efficiencies or whatever that can be achieved. But I think that anytime you can, you can basically just say, well, this is just the stuff that human put together. And it's always like, there's never any metadata on this. It's never tagged properly. It's just text and even images. And all of a sudden you can actually make sense of it. There's like patterns that emerge.
Actually, you make me think of being back in elementary school and listening to somebody lecturing or trying to teach me something that was far more complex than I could grab. And I would look to somebody next to me and go, do you have any idea what's going on over there? Can you explain it? And that was the other person doing what you're talking about. We can sort of see ChatGPT as the kid at the next desk that we turn to and say, can you help me with this? And sometimes they'll have the right answer, sometimes not. But at least it's that collaborative learning where you team up and you realize you're not alone. We're trying to do a lot tonight that gets the juices flowing a little bit. My challenge to you as we go through session 4 here is hold on to those thoughts and ask yourself over the next days, weeks, and months, if ChatGPT continues to develop, what can we do that is really going to allow us to augment what we do? And what can we do to augment what it does to the benefit of our learners? So Susan, run with it, please.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen and we're ready to roll. I do want to thank you for coming tonight. And it is important to create those safe spaces. And ETMOOC 2 has done that for us so that we can have a dialogue. And for sure, bringing humanity into the conversation is really important. And I think it needs to be coming through all of our conversations and how we're connecting and continuing to grow as we learn about AI. We have to bring humanity into the conversation. And so I like this quote. It's, and I hope you're seeing it. Are you? Good. Our ability to tap into the lost art of human interaction will be the difference between humanity preserved or our humanity lost. There's a lot that I know you probably have heard on the radio. Oh, it's the end of humanity, or TV. It's the end of humanity. AI is going to destroy us all. I really hope that it doesn't. I am an eternal optimist for sure. And but I like to believe that we have to keep humanity into the conversation. I think we need to find and strengthen those skills that matter face to face. I think we need to put our phones down when we are talking to anybody, anytime, anywhere. And I think there will be ways that we can bring that humanity into it. Right now, AI can't replicate empathy or compassion or the ability to think creatively or complex or critically. And who knows how that'll be. But I don't think that it will ever be a problem with AI. I think we're going to have to bring that humanity in many ways. And so I'm just going to start with a little humanity. At the top, I'm well, I've lived in Alberta for 42 years, going on 43 right now in the beautiful mountains in Calgary. And I originally came from the bottom picture in Nova Scotia, and I'll be going there in July. I go every year. And as you can see in the picture, that is what I look out when I look out my window in Nova Scotia. That's me in the kayak. And I think it's important for us to do a little bit about, who we are. I have a little tiny URL that I'm going to pass on to you. See if I can cut and paste that. And I'd like to, let me see if I can do that. I might have a little bit of trouble doing that. And if I do, that's okay. I will pass that along. It's a way to, it's tinyurl.com/about you at MOOC2. So it's tinyurl.com /about you at MOOC2. And hopefully I can learn a little bit about you, because really that's what ETMOOC2 is all about. It's about making those connections. So we are, even though there's only a few of us here tonight, it's never too little. I know people are connecting all the time, but our friends in ETMOOC are from all over the world. There are 380 people at least, 43 countries, 10 provinces, 2 territories, and 24 plus states. And I'd have to really dissect to figure out exactly how many states, but it's around there. But we're happy that you continue to join us, and we really hope that you continue to join us in the Discord community after this is all said and done. I want to talk about one of the things that really excites me about AI and bringing humanity into the conversation. One of the things, people who know me know a little bit or a lot about what's happened to me in the past few years, but I have a disorder called keratoconus, and it's progressive eye disease. Specifically, it's called pellucid marginal degeneration. But since COVID has happened, my eyes have gone through quite the journey, let's just say. And I've come along on that journey as well. I had a whole year where I did not see very well at all. I could not drive. I've just, when I think I have one thing and I'm moving forward, I had posterior vitreal detachment. I had many things, challenges with my eyes. So I lost my sight. I remember walking down the school hallway and I couldn't tell who was in front of me. It was quite something. Now, these are reading glasses. Glasses don't work for me anymore. I have special contacts that are called sclerals. So what's that got to do with anything? Well, it's a little bit about humanity, and that I started because of Alec. He introduced me to Be My Eyes quite a few years ago, and I started volunteering with them. Now, at that time, I could see better than I can see today. Well, actually right today, I see well. But for about 3 years there, I didn't see well at all. So I started volunteering with Be My Eyes. And then, unfortunately for me, and it's a little bit of a joke, but it's true, it would have been like the blind leading the blind. So I couldn't volunteer anymore. I had to, step aside from that. So what's got me so excited about AI is that it's about accessibility. The virtual volunteer tool, that's currently in beta testing and uses vision to text, is so exciting. For me personally, if my sight ever goes back as bad as it was, I would use that. And partly because I never saw myself as someone with a disability. I always felt I was very able, and I still am able and still very capable. And even during that time that I lost my sight, it didn't stop me from doing absolutely anything except for driving. And so the amazing thing to me about that is that it's hard to ask for help, even for someone like me. I mean, I'm a psychologist. That's what I do, is help other people. But it's very difficult for me to ask for help. So having a virtual volunteer where I didn't feel like I was, having to ask someone else, knowing that they could help me, they could get me a map and show me where to go. They could tell me what was in my fridge, and then they could give me a recipe for it. They could help me to, and I have volunteered again with Be My Eyes, and they'll ask you things like, can you tell me which spice in the cupboard is to the left? Well, with a virtual volunteer, you could just point it at it and it would tell you every detail, which is really quite incredible. I think it is transformative. It is providing more and more care for people who are blind, who are of low vision. And it excites me beyond excitement. And that's the thing about AI that really I'm most interested in, is the things it can do for humanity. Like, what can it do? How can it help people who are poor? How can it help people who make them more independent? How can it make things more accessible? And can it? Well, I think that it can. And there are many people that are making a difference. Sometimes all we hear is the negative stuff. And I like to focus on what is good. And there's an AI good lab that high school students use. There are people like Sherry Turkle and Kate Darling, two women who are interested in tech and AI and want to do things that are better for people. I love that AI for Good trains and mentors women. And I would recommend that you look at some of those resources that they have on their websites. And I put them on our website in session 4, so you can look at that later. But I have worked with youth for over 42 years, and I believe strongly that they care. And they care about AI. They're involved. And I think one of the things we can do is get them involved. Ask them to join, ask them to be advocates, ask them to have a voice. Find ways that you can do that so that they will continue to want to make a difference and make the world a little bit better place, putting humanity at the center, for sure. And yeah, a little humanity goes a long way. I want you to set your brain free and bring humanity into the conversation. Play a little more. I'm looking forward to, I was been more serious, trying to pay attention to AI for the last 2 months. I am playing, and when I finish tonight, I am definitely playing a whole lot more. But the thing about AI is that you can create using it. So I love creating. I hope you make a little more human created art. Art is one of the most healing things that you can do for yourself. And when you see yourself as playing like a little kid, and ETMOOC 1 gave me that ability. I was not an artist before ETMOOC 1. I am an artist in ETMOOC 2. All the art that you see in any of this is stuff I've created. And I create art all the time. And one of the things that Alec used to always say is, make your learning visible. So I've put my lousy art out there. I've put my process out there. It does not matter. And I think that's important. Listen to some old records on a real record player, dance around your kitchen, whatever you need to do. Me being silly in the beginning there, you guys couldn't hear a darn thing. You got to do more of that. Relationships do matter. And we know that. We keep saying it, but sometimes we don't act like it. I don't think. I think sometimes we don't remember to pay attention to the person in front of us. And so we need to foster and preserve those meaningful relationships even more. And I love that CLMOOC has that activity, that they have a postcard activity, and they've made it kind of a real thing where you send a postcard. And I I think those things are matter. When I got those postcards in the mail, I was excited that day. I was excited to see who was it from, and where was it from in the world. And so making the time to do those things, and it doesn't take long to send a postcard. Find ways to do those kind of things that bring a lot more humanity into the conversation. I think we all could step up a little bit better. And there's some things that you can think about, and some questions to think about. What is it that you value? What is it you value, and what matters when it comes to AI? Are we really ready to become a machine's companion, even if they're willing to become ours? That's Sherry Turkle. I like that. It's really good. And are you ready to embrace AI fully with an open heart, keeping humanity in mind? And do you really think that trust, empathy, and understanding that comes from connecting to another person on a deep level, can that really be replicated by a machine? Will it ever be replicated by a machine? I don't know. They're all things to think about, that's for sure. And I hope that I'm very happy that you guys all care enough. Even if people didn't come into these sessions, you care enough about AI that you joined them, and I really want to put a shout out to all those CL-MOOC people in Discord who have taken the lead, and they have really engaged in the conversation, and they have put out resources. And you know what, I think it's just amazing. And even I love that, you know, at the beginning of this session, when we had a little conversation, an opportunity to have a conversation, it was Mary, I'm sorry, it was Marianne.
Marianne.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice meeting you.
and I love that we had those moments to have those conversations, to find, okay, where are you? What are you doing? What's that kind of stuff? Those are the things that really matter. And finding the time to do those things, and eking out in your day. How can you set out in your day to make that matter for you? So I am going to pass it on to my fellow ETMOOCer, Erin Luong, and she's going to talk about some other resources for using AI for good. Erin, do you want me to stop sharing and you come on, or do you want me to share your slides?
Oh, if you have my slides, I would love for you to share them.
You know what? I have your slides. I'll mute myself. And
look at you.
And
see, this is humanity in its finest.
And
she anticipates my needs more than a computer. Actually, so besides being the person who sends you guys the weekly reminders to participate in ETMOOC, my name's Erin Luong, and I was, way back 10 years ago, one of the original, not co-conspirators, but participants who knew absolutely nothing about technology and kind of getting involved. But one of my things is that I am a school counselor. Definitely. From one of the original participants to a co-conspirator, we can move mountains. But I've been a school counselor for over 20 years. And I have to tell you, as I've worked with my kids over the years, part of what has helped me stay connected with them is actually being able to incorporate technology and incorporate where they are at to keep myself relevant with what they need. So sometimes a kid shows up in my office and it isn't what happened today. It's like, what's on our playlist? What are the top 5 songs you just listened to in the last week? And it's just conversations about, oh, what app are you using? Oh, show me a picture of this. Oh, build me a Pinterest of that. So it's about working with them where they're at. And so I'm sharing with you a couple examples of where AI can help us do some of that stuff that Alec was talking about in the chat at the beginning. Some of that sorting, some of that grouping to help us be sort of more in tune with, and I have examples both from our youth generation as well. My second example will be more working with our elderly generation. So I feel like AI can help us out across the board. So one of the things that happens is, especially over COVID, kids were needing to reach out. And most kids who reach out don't want to talk on a phone. They want to use an app. They want to use resources. And the positive thing is that we're able to use AI to sort of sort those conversations and group them so that we can look for trends and we can look for things that are happening. So one of the agencies that is currently using AI right now is something called the Trevor Project. And the Trevor Project is specifically focused on LGBTQ youth and their needs and everything like that. And it's named the Trevor Project in honor of a young man named Trevor who was not able to get the counseling support and resources he needed as a youth and ultimately took his own life. And now this agency works to support kids in their times of need. Within this agency, which is run by people, not computers, but they use a variety of things. For example, they use algorithms. So the kids text in for the helpline, and the algorithm helps them to analyze and categorize messages so that they can sort the messages out to the appropriate people to respond back to what the child is at, so that the child is matched with someone who meets their needs. They also use a natural language processing technology, and they start looking for trends. They can then use that research, and it's real-time research, not like 10 years ago, 20 years ago research, today research, to create PD and professional growth for school counselors on trends that are happening in the here and now. They also have an AI-powered virtual assistant, which they call Riley, and he can be on the line 24/7. So they do have people on, but no matter day or night, whatever is happening with a kid, they can get connected with their virtual assistant to do the texting back and forth. And so overall, instead of having one person on the line who may or may not be trained to help with the specific needs, by incorporating these different technologies along with the human counselors, they're able to provide more personalized and effective crisis and intervention services to the young people that they're serving. So the Trevor Project is one example of where AI is not replacing them, it's supplementing them and complementing their resources of what they're already doing. Now, on the opposite end of the scale, and this actually surprised me, and when we first in February started talking about AI and wanting to do this at MOOC 2.0, I was like, oh, I better do some research. I went on LinkedIn and I actually signed myself up for a session on elder care, which almost sounds the opposite. Like, how could AI be helping our seniors? But what actually ends up happening is there are a few different ways where we can actually sort of inventory our seniors and their families and help them sort of take this huge ocean of resources that are out there and help them personalize and find the things that they need for their own personal stories. So, so Amelia is one of these digital agents. And what ends up happening is they work with the healthcare agencies as well as clients, and they talk to both sides, and then they find a meet in the middle. It's almost like having a virtual mediator. So because it's virtual, it's sort of like based on your services, based on their needs, this is where we're seeing the lineup. So it's helping us do some of that sorting and everything. So they can get through 93% faster helping seniors match up with appropriate resources. Another thing is lots of times, day or night, they're able to be at least the first line of defense. So like frequently asked questions, kind of getting them through that first getting them into the healthcare center. And then if it needs to get more personalized, they go out from there, but it starts out sort of making sure everybody has a touch point. In terms of, marketability and stuff, it saves them 14,000 hours of manpower in filing things, paperwork, like some of those little manual things, so that the people that are being hired to work with the people, not to do all the background sorting and tasks. And their AI equipment participates in over 3,000 conversations per week. As I was listening to the seminar as well, they were talking about other benefits. So for example, some of our seniors maybe don't have family close by to come and visit them every single day or even every single week. So being able to do some of these partnerships where almost like chats back and forth, keeping some of the conversations going, doing virtual games and stuff like that, keeping sort of some of the stimulation going with seniors in the healthcare system or other ways. So I was actually surprised when I started doing the research, just how we could be using it to supplement what we're already doing and complement what we're already doing, to make sure that we are giving people, personalized healthcare. So those are two examples, both with our youth and with our seniors, where I see us using AI to enhance their experiences with service and care.
Thanks, Erin. Appreciate that. I'm going to skip to the last slide, and then I'm going to come back to the what's next. But I think, what's been amazing are these people on this screen, plus all of you. This would have not come together had it not been for you joining us and for all the people doing lots of little things behind the scenes. And so ETMOOC 2 was great. I don't know if anything could top ETMOOC 1. It was such an awesome experience that is hard to describe. But I think ETMOOC 2 is although it's ending, it's not finished. So I'm going to go back to the what's next. And if you go to the website, I do have some what next slides that you can add to. We want you to think about what next. So you can go to tinyurl.com/etmook2 what's next. And you can see, so I'll repeat that, tinyurl.com/etmook2 what next. But I'll let Paul kind of talk a little bit about what we're thinking when we think what's next, and then we're going to bring you into the conversation. Thank you for listening. And then it's time to engage you a little bit more. Know that we do stay a little bit after Paul has to go, but we usually stay, and for the last night we'll stay for those of you who want to have a conversation, but I'll pass it on to Paul about what's next.
Thanks. Brief answer is it's up to all of you. Daniel's already tossed out the first offering there, and I'm just delighted to see that. What next? I'll connect with all of you on Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, and LinkedIn, as long as you used ETMOOC2 as the hashtag in your post. And that's pretty much how ETMOOC 1 spread after the 10-week formal course ended. You as learners, you as co-conspirators really have the responsibility and the burden on you, but it's a lovely burden because every moment you put into it is going to pay off in magnificent ways. So we've got Discord, and Alec, we're still going to have access to that, right?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Wonderful. So that's our formal meeting place until we find a better one, or if we do need a better one. But the secondary thing is these connectivist MOOCs like ETMOOC 1, ETMOOC 2 grow so much because people stay in touch with each other. They split off and have their own conversations. A couple of models that really worked well for us in the first year after ETMOOC 1 was some of the learners ourselves, Susan, Erin, and I were among the people that did this. We just put it out on Twitter that we were going to have a tweet chat, or we were going to do something with the Google video system that we were all using at that time. And whoever was there was there. And those continued like clockwork for almost a year, with people coming in, continuing the conversation. So if that appeals to you, start that, reach out to people, hit people by Discord, hit us by email if you got the email addresses, but let us know what you want to do so that we can be there to support you. And as we keep saying, see what happens over the next 10 years, so that by the time we get around to ETMOOC 3, this community is continuing to thrive and meet a need. Questions or comments from anybody else? I see somebody saying, I miss Google Plus. Yeah.
Well, that's what it was called. It was called Google Plus. We can, yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, there've been so many of them, I've forgotten myself. But while we're here as a group, at least in the live session, what else would you like to see us doing as a community if this was a topic that you don't want to let go of yet?
I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna ask. You can answer a number of questions. So the one would, how would you see yourself involved after ETMOOC 2 is over? Everybody has busy lives, and we know that. The Discord community we're trying to bring everybody in so that you can have those conversations, because it's one place that everybody could go to. But the other question is, what's the most valuable thing that you've learned in this past couple of months? And Erin, I am going to pick on you.
Okay, you pick on me.
Well, I'm picking on the other Erin. I'm picking on Erin Bloomberg. Yes.
Okay, I'll let the
Yeah.
other Erin get picked on today.
That's where I should have logged off immediately after Erin took over.
ChatGPT would have pulled you back in.
Yeah,
You're in
probably.
now.
Paul, don't you have a drive to make?
Not yet, Erin. I want to hear your answer.
So what was the question again?
Well, there are two questions.
Two questions.
One
You have-
is,
first question, what do
how
you
could
have
you
for
see yourself
dessert?
how could you see yourself involved? And the other question is, what's something that you learned during this past couple months that may stand out for you? Is there anything from what you've read, from what you did in ETMOOC?
Good question.
Doesn't have to be earth shattering, you know.
Well, I think something that we can continue doing is us involved in the ETMOOC is kind of be the voice of reason in a computer generated world. You know, we've had these great dialogues on, you know, the pros and cons and how we can go forward and things. I think what happens when it comes to AI, and it's artificial intelligence, but it's an artificial intelligence based on human intelligence. And so like you brought in, it has to stay human-centered. So as long as we be that human-centered, you know, role in our communities and our respective communities, whether it's a physical community or a virtual community, and be that voice of reason and voice of humanity, then we can ensure that the AI that is being used in an ethical way, and that we always keep it human-centered, and we don't let it, you know, become Terminator, to reference the image that first came up. And that's something that I've learned. And it's so funny because a lot of things have occurred since we started as ETMOOC, in the library sphere that I'm very immersed in, as well as I had texted Paul yesterday, I think it was, you know, both Google and Microsoft Bing, as of yesterday and today, have really integrated in some of their experimental lab stuff, the AI. Google just implemented in I had signed up for the experimental stuff for Google. So they added an AI chat feature into their Google search. So you put a subject in, and all of a sudden it's anticipating further questions. So it has it automatically available. And I was going through the Microsoft Bing, and they have Bing Chat now, which is full Chat GPT in integrated form in the Bing search engine. So it's it's like they know that we're doing this, and they're like, oh, we're going to put the stuff out there because we have this community that's built itself. So just seeing how integrated things continue to be, and they're becoming more integrated literally day by day. And I don't think I was truly aware of that before we started the ETMOOC too.
Thank you,
So I think
Erin.
it answered my question.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that was great. I appreciate that. Anne, would you like to join us in the, in the conversation? And if not, we'll pass it along to, is it Riette? Riette, would you like to join in?
Ah, yes, thank you, Susan. I think for me, the biggest learning was working, the human and machine part, how to combine that. And obviously we are on a learning path and we will learn a lot more. But I think it is a very exciting journey. I do agree. Thank you
so much. Tim.
Oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting a call out. In full transparency, I missed the last couple sessions, but I'm encouraged to see the discussion here, because I do think we're sort of at this crossroads right now. And like ETMOOC 1 was so transformational to me, like it is just so many, that's what it sounds like. And to kind of, how do we kind of keep that going? Like for the last 10 years, I kind of integrated it into everything I've done. I learned like the Canoven framework and all these cool things from that ETMOOC 1, and like with ETMOOC 2, with all this chat about ChatGPT and OpenAI and all this stuff. Like, how do we keep this conversation going without it kind of dying out? Like I'm looking around the Zoom screen here, and like I don't like Twitter, like many of you do. It's now with Elon Musk running the show. I'm really adverse to using it, and I like LinkedIn. Some people don't. Like, so how do we kind of continue this conversation going? And maybe rather than like the Zoom thing is good, this remote thing is good, but maybe like an annual event might be a nice thing to consider. I don't know who organizes such a beast. Maybe Alec. But like I'm just. So what I learned, there's still a lot to unpack, but I'm encouraged to see so many people talking about it, which is nice.
Well, thanks, Tim. We do have an annual, we've met annually for the last 10 years. And the way to reach everybody has been through Twitter. A lot of us keep connected, so we know to contact each other. But that's why we're hoping people will stay connected in Discord, because at least it's a common place. Because, what's the common place? There is no common place anymore that people like to gather. But we're hoping that you will stay connected in Discord, so that if we decide, hey, you know what, we'd like to have a Zoom, 2 months from now, just to talk about what's changed since we first did this, or if you want to take the lead. That's the cool thing about ETMOOC, is that it's not one person taking the lead. It's someone saying, hey, I'll just do this. I'll organize this and I'll get this going, just like they have in Discord. All those people from CLMOOC have kind of taken on asking people questions and trying to engage people. And that's what MOOCs can do. So we hope, Tim, if you would like to get something happening, you make it happen, and we're happy to join you.
That's what I was worried about. Yeah. But no, I do appreciate that. And the Discord is awesome for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to have you for sure. Lisa.
Susan, I just want to interrupt a minute to say that I've had the most comments that I've had is that Discord is not where it's going to be for most people.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I don't think we were able to draw the crowd into Discord. If you see, it's the same few people that have participated in the conversation. And I'm not sure what, but I don't think it's going to be Discord.
Yeah, I don't know, Valerie. That's a great question. I wish there was something that would bring us all together. Yeah.
And I wish I had an idea, but I don't.
I know.
Well,
But
one thing
thank
I'd
you,
like,
Valerie.
and I don't know if anybody else is comfortable with it, with Slack, provides a really nice way for people to get back and forth, but it's the same kind of setup with Discord. So if Discord isn't reaching people, I'm afraid maybe Slack is going to have the same problem.
I think
Mhm.
Slack is worse right now with some of the stuff that's come out this week about privacy and people being bullied, and there's been a lot of work from the Mozilla Foundation about Slack this week.
Well, I'm
So
glad I've been busy and haven't seen it yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to
Thanks,
be
Valerie. I
Debbie
appreciate that
Downer
input.
here, but I just don't think it's going to be Discord.
Yeah.
There's a really great, there are several
Lisa,
great
did you
comments.
want to jump in?
Before you do that, several great comments in the chat. I want to point out
Okay.
one from Andrea. For me, this is just the start of the conversation. I've had a very busy time, haven't had a chance to connect via Discord and have Twitter for general information. I still have to try myself all the tools that have been suggested here. And I'd like to thank the organizers for pulling this together. Again, you know, we joke about this is the last week formally, but it's, as somebody in the original one said, it ain't over till we say it's over. So keep talking to each other, keep exploring, and draw us into it if we're not drawing you fast enough into it. Back to you, Susan. You were about to highlight somebody.
Yeah, that's okay. Lisa, or if there's anybody else who wants to jump in before I turn the recording off, I'm going to do that in a few minutes, but feel free.
What is Mattermost, Alec?
Mattermost it's an open source tool. I can probably open it up. They use it at University of Victoria with students. It's kind of Slackish, I guess. I'll see if I can actually create an instance of it and share just to see if you like it at all. But I have access to one at the University of Regina, which I could open to people. Give me a couple minutes and I'll maybe just show you, just see what it looks like.
Okay. And I'll go to Lisa while we're waiting. Yeah.
Thanks. You're so good at having people share. So kudos to you for that. And I really share the frustration of some folks that the places that used to be so easy for us to connect on are not so easy anymore. It's so very frustrating to not have that, because so here's what I'd love to have. And I know that Discord could perhaps be the place, or Mattermost might be the place, but just every time you do a cool thing using generative AI, it used to be easy to just like go, oh my God, I'm doing this thing, check it out. And we don't, like, Twitter kind of got ruined, and Facebook was doing a decent job at that for a bit, and that's not really doing it anymore. So we need our next great thing for sharing, which we don't have yet, but maybe Alex will give us something. And then I just put in the chat that, like, in some of these conversations, these maybe simple sounding ideas that are big ideas I've liked, like when you had Dr. Sarah Eaton, and she shared 6 tenets of post-plagiarism writing in the age of artificial intelligence, and the idea that hybrid human AI writing will become normal, and we need to stop trying to catch people doing it, but encourage the use of that and normalize it, and that humans can relinquish control but not responsibility. And our job as educators is for ourselves to verify and cite information, but also to help our students learn how to do that effectively. So I like some of those nuggets that have come out. And I do not use Discord very much, but I want to try to use it more, just to have this place to just be excited about all these little ways that we're using AI to do work more efficiently, effectively, and benefit others. So hopefully we can figure it out.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you to all of you as I close the recording off. A lot of you have engaged every week in some way or another, and we so appreciate that. So we definitely hope to see you around, and however we're going to see you. We'll keep the Discord open. We do have a Twitter list of over 170 people, I think. And so there are many ways to try to connect, and using that hashtag ETMOOC 2, wherever you are, whatever you do. So at least we can see what you have to say, whether it be about AI or just connecting in general. So again, thank you for that. But I am going to stop the recording.